this panel gonna be in Hebrew and in English as well. Reggie with us. Thank you again, dear Reggie. You joined this important panel. And yes. So.
For pulling all of the AV, the audiovisual together.
So our panel is Attorney Reggie Littlejohn. Thank you, join us. Dr. Sergey Goldstein. Thank you, you join us as well. Dr. Sorin Shapira. Thank you so much. You are with us. Attorney Alfred Schwartz. Thank you so much. You are with us. Dr. Yael. Thank you so much. You arrived. You are with us. Shalem. The one and only Shalem. And Attorney Yuval Gatz. Thank you, Attorney Yuval.
And I want to interrupt for a second because we caught a big fish. Where is Moshe Feiglin?
Come join us if it's possible. If you have energy and time for today, I know you're doing a lot.
I have just 5 minutes if you want.
5 minutes, you know how much is. Come.
It's more than they usually gave us to speak at.
Yes. And Moshe, I remember Moshe before a few months, he do a conference about the W.H.O. And he, one of the first influenced people that spoke about One Health and the One Health complexity. So thank you about that. Thank you so much. And this panel is going to be like a speed panel, like about each one going to talk not about big stuff, about himself, about inspiration he brings to the world, how he discover his gift, because this is the most important. The most important, it's not just what we're doing, it's the place we are doing. And it's like each one and one of us can do what those people are doing. Exactly, we are the same. If they call about equity, this is us, this is inspiration that can we bring to the world. So thank you. So thank you so much with us. Share with us a little bit about what gives you inspiration, for what you getting up from the morning and what you're doing before, because you're doing a lot. So what gives you inspiration for what you're doing?
First of all, I want to thank you very much for inviting me to speak here for a few minutes. I don't have more than that. I apologize from the very beginning that I'll have to go afterwards, but to see all this panel and see that there are still people here on this earth who cares about freedom, who cares about humanity, that did not lose the sense of liberty. And if you're asking me what gives me the energy, is there is the understand that there is God, and therefore there is reality, and therefore there is right and wrong, and therefore there's a difference between people and animals, and when you notice that all these arms of the same big huge octopus trying to destroy the world, I'm talking about the big progressive monster, that the W.H.O. is definitely one of these arms, these movements of the UN. You see that all these arms, no matter what, are all with Hamas today, all against the Jews today. Suddenly you see the real face of this monster. Suddenly you understand that it's not about environment. Why at the 8th of October, Greta was the first one to jump out and say she's in favor of Hamas? What's the connection between the environment and the horrible things that the Hamas did? But she's just an arm of the same monster. And the other arms, including the other organizations of the UN, are basically the Babylon Tower, the new modern Babylon Tower that look to eliminate the world from the touch of God. Send God out of the picture. We will control the world. We will build this tower. Our wisdom, our prophets tells us that when a brick fell, when they built the tower, everybody stopped the work on the Babylon tower and cried. But when a human being fell, then no one cared. Okay? And it's amazing. There was an environment crisis, right? The flood.
Just another brick in the wall.
Yeah, the flood. They used some kind of excuse to scare everybody, right? If you're not going to let us control the world, and it doesn't matter if it will be with the environment or the new virus or the new vaccine that now you all have to take, as long as you make us the new rulers of the entire world, we have to make the whole world now unite under our kingdom. So the bottom line is that we're dealing here with a monster. And you, all the people here, have the ability to see that monster and understand what you're fighting against. And thank you very much for it. And it's so good to see that there are still people like you on earth fighting this war. May be blessed from above. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Moshe Feiglin. Dear friends, in the end, there's space for questions. So each one can share question or share thoughts together. So, yes. Attorney Yuval Gatz, good evening. Thank you so much for the things you bring today in the committee. Please share with us what bring you inspiration for what you wake up to the morning, about things that really you care. What you do, why you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing a lot. So please share us for a few thoughts.
I think there comes a time for every person that they understand they're not just a flower on some shallow waters floating, but took something to bring them where they are. They are standing on the shoulders of giants, generations, and they are connected. And they should connect themselves forward because they have children. And if you want to take care of your children, and if you want to see them have at least as much freedom as you have, there's a saying by the late President Reagan. He said that we are always one generation away from losing our freedom. And this is the generation. We are fighting for freedom. We are fighting for the ability for our children to actually know right from wrong, to have connection to their cultural endowment, to the Bible. And I think it's a good program, that Bible, you know. And I think it's not as new as what the woke preach. They want to release us, to liberate us from family, to liberate us from morals, to liberate us into small molecules that they can control. And when you see PC, it's not politically correct, it's politically controlled. We need to stand up for truth, for our freedom, so our children could still enjoy it. And that's what gets me up in the morning.
Wow, thank you. If we're talking about inspiration, it's me. Hello, how are you doing this evening?
I'm okay, actually a little bit overwhelmed now, but I'm going to do what Gali asked me to do. Amazing speech. But Gali asked me to talk about what brought us here. And so I started off, I was interested in philosophy, understanding how the world works. I thought I would study physics and that would help. Eventually, at the end of my degree in physics, I started teaching after school activities, and I saw I was really good at it and very creative, and I said, all right, I'm going to do education. And I got a really like a dream job. Basically, I come to work at the Israel Center for Excellence Through Education, and my job is invent something interesting. All right, that's what I do all the time. No curriculum, whatever. Just do a creative activity for excellent students. That was great. And also started to invent physical games with my colleague, Gali Shimoni, inventing games, selling the rights to game companies. Very good life. And I thought that's what I'm just going to do. I'm going to invent activities in math and science and create games. But at a certain point, there was something on the news, doesn't matter what, but I saw a very big difference between what I knew the reality was and what the reporting was. And then I started to get deeper into current events. I started with economics. I went really, really deeply into economics. I wrote articles about Adam Smith, Friedrich Hayek, really, really liked them. But eventually I found out that I have to go a deeper level. Because I am a kind of rationalist. I mean, that's I can say, well, this doesn't make sense because whatever. But at a certain point I saw I had to go deeper and understand the opposition to freedom, basically. And I started reading the original writings of neo-Marxists, postmodernists, Marx, all the way back to Hegel, and even before Hegel. There's a book called Hegel and the Hermetic Tradition, so I went all the way back there. But at a certain point I said, okay, I don't know if I'm a good presenter or writer or whatever. Maybe I should make games, get money from the games, and support people to do it. But at a certain point I just felt I had to do it. And I was actually very frustrated for a long time because stuff I knew to be true, I could not say without people thinking I'm crazy. Very difficult. I had to tone things down to be comprehensible to me. Like, I can't say what like Marx actually wrote and thought and did because it doesn't make sense. So I was really happy that the opportunity that Gali gave me here in Cafe Shapira to give a series of lectures. And eventually, there was a guy who still isn't here.
No, he left.
He left. So Rousseau told me today, people are starting to understand what you're saying. But it's not because I did learn how to talk, I was able to express myself better, but also reality, the symptoms caught up with the harsh reality. After the 7th of October, people said, people are willing to understand how deep and distorted the enemy we're dealing with. It's still very difficult to actually say how insane it is, because I think no matter how insane you think it is actually worse. If you just go to the original writings, I'll just give one example, because I'm not going to go into it too much, but there's a guy, a postmodernist psychoanalyst, Jacques Lacan. Okay, so I was going on to the interview with the guy who was going to talk about them, so I said, okay, I guess I should learn some Jacques Lacan. And he's like a devil worshipper. I mean, he writes stuff like Jacques Lacan, I think he's really, really smart, and he knows tons of stuff. I mean, he knows the Bible, he knows philosophy, he knows a lot. But his method is inverting. That's the whole method, inverting. Doesn't know how to build anything. Nothing to build, but inverting. So he takes the categorical imperative of Kant, which is basically, kind of makes sense, take upon yourself rules that if everybody does them, then society can function. Okay. But he flips it. And he says, live by the rule such that you use everybody else for your pleasure. He actually says that, and he specifies. And he says, yes, including women, whether they like it or not. Why? Because that liberates them from the shackles of the norms of society. So he gives the word liberation, and liberation includes the act of rape, which liberates women. I mean, that's how distorted this is. And it gets worse, but I can't do that now. But it's absolutely evil and insane. And the thing is, these guys know insanity and go to insanity. It's kind of difficult to wrap your head around, but that's how deep, that's what happens at the deepest level. And the thing is, that these guys, including Marcuse and many Judith Butler and Derrida and all these guys, they know that this will break society, and they still do that. And Jacques Lacan, he says, okay, we have evolution and we have creationism. What does he prefer? Creationism. Because if God exists, we can destroy him. I mean, this is actually stuff he says. So, so I'm trying to get people to, read what these guys said. And, so that's why I have to be here.
Dr. Yael Stein, thank you for coming here. Today she was in the committee and she wants to speak and share. This is a good opportunity to share as well. I think you want to share in the committee and about yourself and your work. You're doing amazing work. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for here.
Thank you. Well, I didn't end up saying anything in the committee, but actually what I wanted to say was said quite exactly by Philip Kruse. Attorney Philip Kruse from Switzerland. I'll just say in a minute and then I'll get back to what I wanted to say. That I wanted to speak about free science. That science has been taken by money and science today is biased. It is not free. What we see, what they call evidence-based medicine, is very, very far from the original. It is money-based science, and I cannot trust protocols and articles that are funded and that are invited and that are published by interested parties. So I think science today is very, very biased, and it is very, very far from the truth. So that's what I wanted to say about in the committee. So it doesn't matter because Philip actually did say it. But
why does it bother you?
Why does it bother me? Okay, I studied medicine and I studied public health, and when in between. I was looking for what to specify in, and I didn't find anything, so I went to administration, then I went to work a bit in environmental and occupational medicine research, researching health effects of radiation, electromagnetic radiation on the body. But what happened was that nobody had money to pay me, so I ended up working for some guy who wrote a journal on genocide studies, and I ended up studying bioethics just like on the way. And my teacher, Professor Richter, who I worked with, was quite famous at the time, and he said, it doesn't matter what field you're in, but I don't want you to be like a side watcher. You have to be a player in the field. Whatever you do, I will train you by doing. I will do nothing, you will do everything instead of me, and you will go there and show them that you know this and that and this and that. So I ended up knowing quite a lot of stuff. And eventually I went to study anesthesiology and public health, and having my background, I watched people walking into the Masters in Public Health class, and coming out like the spaghetti in the wall, coming out, the stanz exactly the same. And it was very, very interesting to watch. Like, why was it that they came in and I came in, and they came out exactly like the teachers, and I came out exactly like I came in? And I was just watching them change into this something very like the system wanted them to be. And it bothered me. It bothered me why this is happening. And then I started working in medicine. And when the pandemic showed up, I said, okay, this looks familiar. You know, I've seen things similar to this. I think this was December 2019.
In the hospital.
In the hospital, I said, what are they talking about? When they say there will be a mandatory vaccine, I'm out of here. So actually, I didn't come out then because actually I was able to avoid the mandatory vaccine. But I left. I left for many reasons, but there were two main reasons. One reason was that you can't tell people not to breathe for a whole year. You can't tell people, you can't build hospitals with no windows and put masks on people's faces and tell them, continue living. Everything is okay, it's normal. Okay, that's one thing. And the second thing I said, I'm not having this karma. Like, all these people are actually killing everybody. I'm not going to be part of that anymore. I can't do that. It's just, I just can't do that.
Wow,
so I stopped.
Wow.
And today I work in biodynamic agriculture, which is, I found someone who has a farm, so I work in his farm. And it's actually from the work of Rudolf Steiner, who I'm not sure what his origins were, but he had some nice, very nice ideas also about freedom. And it's outdoors and there's a lot of air. And I can keep a dog, and I can make my own time, and I don't have to kill anybody on the way to work. So I do that. I don't earn so much money, but I'm on my way. So that's what I do.
כל הכבוד, פשוט מדהים, מדהים.
About the community you have in Jerusalem.
Oh, okay. Also, I built a yurt in the center of Jerusalem, just behind the Prime Minister's house. And
What?
yeah, a yurt, like a Mongolian hut, Mongolian tent. There is this,
like igloo.
what are they called? Association, NGO, that they take empty spaces that are unused, and they turn it into community centers. So during the time after I left the hospital, I actually left the hospital because I became very sick from breathing all the chemicals in the mask. So I was sick and I couldn't work. And I gathered around me a group of therapists in all sorts of alternative medicine fields, and we wanted to have a place to do our things. So I rented this courtyard of an empty building that became a community center. And today I have all sorts of workshops and lectures and all sorts of interesting things there, and it's really in the center of town. It's very nice.
And events.
Yeah, music events, all sorts of things. It's very fun.
פשוט מדהים.
Attorney Alfred Schwartz.
זהו בעל החווה?
Good evening. I'm not sure exactly where to start. I guess I'll start in 1977. I grew up, I'll start even a little earlier. I grew up as a very physical, athletic kid with a tremendous interest in mechanics. So my future was set to be involved in athletics and mechanical engineering, which is eventually what I did. And I was a technocrat to the extreme. In 1977, as it turned out, I met a rabbi. He's the rabbi who started up a yeshiva, Yeshivat Or Sameach, for whoever knows that yeshiva. That's the rabbi who converted or had Zohar, among others, Choser B'Tshuva, which is
All the Bohemians.
all the Bohemians at the time. And I had a conversation with him at the time. I was 23 at the time, 24 at the time. And I said to him, look, I don't care about anything. I can solve any problem. I was on my way to getting my mechanical engineering degree. I can solve anything and everything. And he said to me something that stayed with me for actually the rest of my life. And that was, look, you can invent and do and solve everything. At the time, I did not want to have anything to do with humanities studies. I went through my teens reading a tremendous amount of books. I was born in Romania. I've been reading since about the age of 3, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I've read. And I didn't want to have anything to do with humanities. And he said, look, you can solve anything and everything, but who is going to determine how to use whatever it is that you invent? Who is going to be the one who guides your thinking so that you use it for the good of people? It hit me like a ton of rocks. I had never thought about that. Not only that, he said something that outright insulted my intelligence initially. He said, look, you're playing with your brains like it's a game. But ultimately, that thinking that you're doing is your brain is using the thinking, it needs it like a steak. You need to eat something for your stomach, and you're playing games with your brain, solving all sorts of problems, but that's just feeding your brains to just feed it for whatever it needs. This thing stayed with me for, like I said, for my entire life. Eventually, I got my engineering degree. I went to the United States. I worked as an engineer for many years. And that's where I encountered problems of environment, because I was associated with the mining industry. And the mining industry is an industry that creates a tremendous amount of pollution. And it creates a tremendous amount of environmental degradation. So I ended up being connected to the Bureau of Reclamation in the United States, which is what reclaims the land that the mining processes destroy. And I've become aware of things that I had never been aware before. First Lebanon War comes in the 80s. I'm a member of the ADL, which is the Anti-Defamation League at the time, and I end up speaking on behalf of Israel with basically the highest echelon of the Air Force in the United States. I was living in Colorado at the time, and the Laurie Air Force Base was about 35 kilometers from miles from where I lived. I was invited to speak with them, and I had a presentation, and that's how I got involved into speaking with the public, basically. Jumping ahead, years go by, and I come to Israel. One of the books that I read at the time, there were a number of books, but one of the books that set the stage for what is happening these days was a book by, I think it was Emmanuel Sivan. It was published by, I don't remember exactly right now, but at any rate, the name of the book was Kana'ei HaIslam.
Islam Zealots.
I'm sorry?
Islamic Zealots.
Islamic Zealots. Oh, it was from Sifriyat Amoved. That's who published the book. And Islamic Zealots. And that's where I got my first understanding of how Islam works. I then subsequently ended up starting, I never finished it, but I started reading a translation of the Quran, so I get a better understanding of the things that I'm meeting, that I'm facing. And then subsequently, having had some experience with the wars in Israel, I also read a book named The Arab Mind Considered, which I eventually ended up teaching. Long story short, and I'll cut it here in 2 more sentences, when October 7 came along, I knew that I am facing a group of people that will absolutely never, ever change their intention to destroy Israel. Ever. It's not going to happen. Take away any hope, because it's an empty hope. As it comes with respect to the W.H.O, being a not very disciplined, socially disciplined person, I realized and understood right away, because I was very critical of how people operate and how the government operates. Having been born in Romania, I can sense through my pores, truly, when I encounter totalitarian regimes. I saw the totalitarianism in its making.
Wow.
Between the two, here I am.
Wow.
Thank you, Attorney Alfred Schwartz. Dr. Sorin Shapira, thank you for joining us in this forum. Please, inspiration. You are doing a lot of inspiration. I personally want to thank you for what you're doing. Please share what you, why you getting, for what you're getting up in the morning. What gives you inspiration?
Well, that brings me to a saying of Mark Twain that he said, the 2 most important days in a human person are the day he was born and the day he discovers why. I was thinking of it in a different point, but eventually it all started like all of us. It was before that with all the manifestations against Bibi, and later on it was the corona that started. And then I sensed something is wrong with the numbers. So in March, 18 March 2020, I made my first Excel sheet. And I saw something was very fishy. Then I started to follow and to start to read, and plenty of things didn't seem to be connected. Didn't seem connected by logical line. And the only line connected all the strange dots was those that was later labeled as conspiracy theory. So I didn't go into conspiracy theory. I started to ask questions, and medicine is an art. It's not an exact science. It's an art, and since it deals with the sanctity of life, it is very appreciated. And I felt like things are strange, and while inquiring and researching, my ideas were shattered one after the other. And it was a humongous deception from the profession. It was disappointment. Actually, I was in kind of a crisis, a personal crisis, a professional crisis, because everything I knew, it wasn't true. On one side, we are taught to question things. On the other side, when I started asking questions about, in 2020, about all these illogical steps, I was told not to ask it too much, to take it for granted. So I understand that science was silenced.
Yes.
And from one thing to another, I started to go to follow the money, and it was like a rabbit hole. You go and you go and you go, and the more you go, the greater it is. And I got scared. I got scared because I have children. I have family, children. I got scared. And at that point, I understand that humanity is starting to lose humanity because it doesn't have God.
Wow.
And I joined to what Moshe Feigen said. It took me 6 decades to understand. And that brought me to faith.
Wow.
So today I'm a believer. And excuse me. And from that point on, things changed. I started to dedicate myself to other things also. Of course, I was labeled as delusional, insane, mad, and all the compliments a person can get from his colleagues. But you know, after facing them and standing them with the help of God and faith in God, 2 years later, everybody recognized I was right. Do I really care? No, because there's only the maker that I care about. And that brought me basically from one struggle to another struggle. And like he said, we have children and we have to leave them a better world that at least as good as we received. So I joined different struggles, and we met, and here we are. But I would like to finish in a more optimistic way, and to recall Golda Meir's saying that pessimism is a luxury a Jew cannot afford himself.
Wow.
Wow, we asked inspiration and we got. Thank you. It's very important. It's very important to share about. You're not alone, because to the committee, there's really a few doctors says we need to stay in the WHO, and there's a lot of professors and doctors and very awards winner and economists and very high level and hospital manager that says no, we need to get out from WHO. Ungraded that share letters, signatures, standing papers. So you are not alone. There's a lot of doctors and that more and more understand how much it's complex. Just that you can do a lot of things by the name of health or by the name of society. But it's very important what
sustainability, equity.
Equity, yes. So thank you, Dr. Goldstein. Sergey, thank you.
Hi everyone. So my name is Dr. Goldstein, and I'm a practicing orthopedic surgeon. I'm a guy with an electric saw and a drill, and I put all the shiny metal stuff, nails and screws inside people. I'm also a member of Refuah Israel, which is a community of hundreds of physicians which advocate against politicization in the medical field and against political strikes under the leadership of the Israel Medical Association. And it was not long time ago when we established the collaboration with Israel Asmaït, Israel Independent Israel, with Yehonatan Segev. And to tell the truth, I am not a man of vision, but I am a man of action. And Yehonatan was my inspiration. He impressed me with his energy and commitment and deep knowledge of the issue. Whoa. And you made it to allocate lots of hours to go through complicated legal documents of international health regulations and pandemic amendment and all the appendices and all the additional files, and just to study the issue, and eventually it's thanks to you that I get here. Woo. And to the parliament as well.
I can say the same on Alfred. I learned to him about the complex, and on Philip and on Reggie. It's my inspiration. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Today during the parliamentary hearing, yes, Professor Nadav Davidovich lied to the members of parliament.
Wow.
It's professor's lie.
Yes.
It was not the first time he's doing it. During the session today, I analyzed one of his articles and contradicted many of his findings in relation to international health regulations. So what he told to the parliamentary committee today is that 98.9% or 99.8% percent of Israel physicians are in favor of international health regulations. He didn't tell most, he didn't tell all of them, but he stated the exact percentage just to make it pseudo-scientifically valid. Pseudo-scientifically valid. Okay, and unfortunately, most of Israeli physicians are not in favor and are not against, just unaware of these regulations. And this really both sad and dangerous, because usually we as practicing physicians, we concentrate upon patient treatment, whether in the community or in the hospital settings, emergency rooms and operation theaters. We just do our job day after day without thinking out of the box, mostly. And this issue of international health regulations and of this attempt of World Health Organization to infringe on our sovereignty is getting mostly unnoticed by the medical community. That's why it's so important to raise the awareness in the general public and also among medical professionals. Because these regulations will have a huge impact on our everyday work during the next pandemic or next global medical emergency. Because according to these regulations, the sovereign states would be, the developed states would be obliged, would be forced to waive at least 20% of their medical resources for the sake of developing countries, preferably in the region. And you all know what are the developing countries in the region, which are mostly the enemy countries. At least 20%, 10% for free, and 10% more with a significant discount. Okay, so this will rob our budget and our medical system of essential resources during the next medical crisis. So it's crucially important for the medical professionals to understand this, how this will impact our professional activity during the next medical emergency. And I had an interview to Radio 102 about a couple of hours ago. It will be transmitted on Wednesday. That medical professionals should wake up and study the issue and take action and to resist. Because even before we are medical professionals, first of all, we are human beings. And in Passover Agadah, every year we remind that we were slaves to the Pharaoh in Egypt, and now we are free people. And in order to remain free people and to keep our sovereignty, we need to act. Otherwise, it will be too late.
Wow.
Thank you so much. But Reggie is the last one. Reggie, we are here because of you. Gali, here you are coming to Israel, and okay, let's do a panel. And from yesterday to today, there's a panel, and it's because of you. You don't know how much people admire and happy you all come here. Thank you so much. So make it short. What gives you inspiration?
So what gives me inspiration? What gets me up out of bed in the morning? I mean, to tell you the truth, the thing that really I love getting up out of bed in the morning is going and reading my Bible. You know, that's how I get up almost every morning, unless I have some kind of an emergency on my hands. I get up and I try to read, 4 chapters a day. So I have 2 chapters in the Old Testament, 2 chapters in the New Testament, and just try to. I can feel like the Holy Spirit. I can just feel like some kind of a connection just about every day. God blesses me with that. And just try to listen to Him and to, as a Catholic, to His mother, Our Lady, and what they would like me to do that day. And try to do what they asked me to do and what Yehonatan asked me to do.
How did you come from How did you come from Yale to this?
Okay, she asked me how did I come from Yale to this. Okay, that's going to require a little bit longer of an answer. So I am a graduate of Yale Law School. People are very surprised to hear that because Yale is very, very far to the left. And I'm also actually a graduate of Yale Divinity School. I have a master's in divinity. I was a Methodist minister for a couple of years. My husband was a Methodist minister for over 20 years and converted to the Catholic faith. He's now a Catholic priest. So I'm one of the very few women in the world who's legitimately married to a Catholic priest. So when I was at Yale, I loved Yale. I was completely a part of the community. I was very far to the left, just like everybody else. There was no conflict, no tension between me and the culture there at all. I completely embraced it. Then, a couple things happened. One thing that happened was that that Bill Clinton, who is a Yale Law School graduate also, gave China the most favored nation status, which I knew, and he delinked it from human rights in China, and I knew that human rights in China was going to tank after that, and it absolutely did. So that was like the first thing. But then, you know, I was an attorney. I worked really ridiculously hard. Like the most all-nighters I ever pulled in a row was 10, I think. And then I found out that the Guinness Book of World Records at the time was 11. So I probably would have pushed it out another day or two if I'd known that. But I got really, really sick. I had to leave the practice of law on a medical leave of absence. And what happened is I had major surgery. And in that surgery, I got something called a MRSA, MRSA staph infection, which is a drug-resistant staph infection, and there was a long time there we didn't know whether I would live or whether I would die, and so I mean I was like on federal disability for 5 years, and I just remember just going overnight from being like this high-powered attorney to being somebody who was flat on my back begging God to save my life. And I said to him, you know, if I live, I would like you to make my life worth living. I would like to use all the energy I used to use as a lawyer and just representing big companies with a lot of money, but use it to advance your kingdom. And something I had done as an attorney, I think I mentioned to you before, that I was I represented a couple of refugees in their cases for political asylum, women who were victims of forced abortion in China. And I said to God, please break my heart for whatever breaks your heart. And he broke my heart for the women and the babies of China, that I just could not get it out of my system, that at that very moment women were being dragged out of their homes and strapped down to tables and forcibly aborted at 9 months. And some of these abortions were so violent that the women died along with their full-term babies. So when I got better, I took all the skills I learned as a litigation lawyer and applied them towards advocating on behalf of the women and the babies of China. And in the process of that, I just feel like I read the Bible for the first time cover to cover. I had gone to seminary, but I never had to actually read the Bible cover to cover. So I read it cover to cover, and what I realized is that my life had been, you know, I had thought I was an excellent Christian. I had gone to seminary. I was married to a minister. I had been a minister myself. I was not stealing it from anybody. I was not committing adultery. I was not committing murder. I was not doing any of the things that you thought were bad or that I thought were bad. So I thought that I was, you know, an exemplary Christian. But when I read the Bible cover to cover from, you know, Genesis to Revelation, the first time what I realized is that my life actually was not pleasing to the Lord at all. And that in a lot of ways it was based on idolatry. This is something and what I mean by idolatry is anything that you hold ahead of God that's more important to you than God is an idol. And so I was, I was idolizing education, my own education. I was idolizing money. I was idolizing power. I was idolizing all kinds of stuff. And the Lord took all that stuff away from me. When I was sick, oh my gosh, did I lose money, power? And I didn't lose my education, but basically everything that I had been idolizing was taken away from me. So I was starting out from zero and having to build back up. So anyway, that's how so then this whole different, I grew up in a family that was very ambitious, so I had a lot of ambition, like personal ambition. That became replaced during that illness through, reading the Bible and all of that, just wanting to serve God in gratitude for sparing my life. So the first thing I did is I started saving, women from forced abortion and exposing that, saving baby girls, sex-selective abortion in China, abandoned widows. And then when COVID hit, what I saw, because of my experience with the Chinese Communist Party, and especially with this digital ID that I mentioned to you, I saw the China social credit system written all over it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this system that I have been fighting against in China is coming to the entire world through the World Health Organization, through the United Nations, etc. Boy, does that get you up out of in the morning, We got to tell people, we got to, sound the alarm and organize people to stop this.
Wow, wow.
Now I've got to go to sleep.